welcome to All Today. We are back again with consecutive episodes. Thankfully, no visitors in town. We survived the hellish snow of last week, and we're back. So, how is everyone today?
Doing great.
I'm all right. I'm going to hijack this podcast right here. I've got a great little zinger for you,
All right.
especially you, Derek.
You're the
Okay.
Thought
captain
you would
now.
enjoy this,
I do like
and I
zingers. They're
thought
very chocolatey.
I I thought it'd be a nice way to start off this podcast by making you feel the kind of sorrow I feel watching all of my sports teams blunder year after year, and I think this one will do it for you. So I have Amiibo, much like you.
Yes.
I have not as many as you,
Here
I
we
don't think.
go.
But I have a decent enough amount. Right now, they're all in the basement, out of sight.
Does your
And
wife
the other
refuse to
day, I
let you have
was
them out there?
no, I she
She
actually
loses
said I
respect
could.
for you when she sees
No, she
them.
said
Like,
I
ugh.
could, but I said I'm good. So they're downstairs, and I said okay. I had to go do something down there, and I took the baby with me, and we were playing down there, and I said, oh, I'm gonna let him play with one of these amiibo because he likes the big colorful figures. So I held him up there, and I let him see them, and he had his pick of the litter. I said, you take one. And he had a choice of Pit, Silver Mario, Ganondorf, Nook, the Nooklings, that crappy Animal Crossing character that always stocks bargain bins.
The pink one.
And yes, the pink one, whose name I can't remember because I only bought it because it was 50 cents at Goodwill. And the God, who's the other? Oh, and Lucas from Mother 3. Of course, it's Smash Brothers amiibo, not Mother 3 amiibo. Those don't exist. Anyways, I let him pick, and who did he pick? He picked Lucas, and I thought, oh my gosh, your Uncle Derek would be so happy
I would be
looking
proud
at.
of you.
You would have been proud. Now, this is where the story takes a turn, though, is because, I didn't see that amiibo for another few days until we were upstairs in our bedroom, and he was playing with our dresser, and he was opening the bottom dresser, and that's when I realized he had stuffed it in the bottom dresser, and I said, oh no, well you should get him out. And what he does is he goes in there, he opens the dresser, he takes Lucas out, he considers Lucas for a moment, and then he puts him back in. And I thought it was awfully metaphorical
Yeah,
for the way that Nintendo treats the Mother franchise,
for
and
sure. They
especially Mother 3, because he takes them out and he just looks at him and he looks like, and you're saying, oh, take him, save him, lock, save him from the drawer. And he has no interest. He just takes the toy and he looks at it and maybe sticks it in his mouth for a second, and then he puts it right in there beneath my wife's swimwear, and then he just toodles on away and leaves it to languish in the dark, much like Shigesato Toy's beloved Mother series. So I thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, it sounds about right. It's how Nintendo treats
It's
it
just
too.
it's just
Uh,
perpetuating the cycle perpetuates
Maybe
endlessly.
Emily Rogers will make a post about how it's definitely coming this year, and then it doesn't. Then it's gotta cycles through it
Hey
over and
man,
over again.
this year's the year.
I mean, my thoughts on the Mother's 3 translation is that this play the fan translation is perfect, but it would be nice to get an official one out there at some point.
Your take is boring.
Well,
They should just they should bring it out.
if
I
they can
wouldn't.
release an NES copy of Fire Emblem on the Switch, a game that like
A
five
translated
people,
version,
yes, a game like five people wanted to play, I think they can do Mother's 3.
and which is probably a bad game too. Actually,
I
I
mean,
haven't
it's
played
aged
it.
poorly, but it's
It's
fine.
a 1980s
It's tactical
SRPG. It's
RPG.
probably not
Yeah,
great.
it's probably a little hard.
Yeah, it's probably not a lot of fun, especially if you don't speak. Well, it's translated,
Well,
but
it's
yeah, it's still
translated,
probably not a lot of fun. Still probably not fun.
but well, let's get rolling there, Cheston. Since you're already talking, what have you been playing this week?
I have been partying like it's 1990, 1996. That seems
Okay,
right.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I've been playing two 3D platformers back to back, like it is a different era, and it has been delightful. I have enjoyed each of them for very different reasons, but I have quite enjoyed both of them.
so starting off with Balan Wonderland, how?
No, I'm not ever going to talk about that again. No, I'm going to talk about first Super Mario 3D World,
Oh, finally.
which we've been threatening to talk about for a while. I still haven't played Bowser's Fury, so don't even ask me about it. But I have been playing Mario 3D World, which is I think, a delightful 3D Mario game. I didn't really give it the time of day in 2013. I think because I played it wrong, and because it was slower back then, and because it was on the Wii U, and playing the Wii U made me kind of sad sometimes. So I playing it in 2021, I think it's a great time. It's a lot faster now, and now I understand that the way to play that game is to try and get 100% completion. It's to go for all the stars, it's to go for the stamps, because if you don't do that, that game is way, way too easy.
Yes.
And even with that, sometimes it's still pretty simple. But I think in 2013 I played it like I would play like a Mario Brothers 1 or 3 or World, just trying to go from end to end. And that's really not the way to play this game. It's still fun that way. It functions well, but if you have even a passing knowledge of platformers, like I'm pretty sure Setzer, left to his own devices, could probably beeline that game in a couple hours and not have too much fun. But if you actually take your time and explore for the stars and the stamps, it's pretty good. I would rank it pretty highly among my recent 3D Marios I've played, which is surprising because when it came out, I wanted nothing to do with it. I bought it merely out of obligation back then.
I don't like that course complete Mario, which for Setzer would mean that a Mario where you're trying to get to the end of a level instead of like collect a bunch of stars. I don't like that they're melding the two types. I'd rather it be like one like challenging level. It is way too easy if you just decide not to collect things.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I would say that a lot of the Marios these days are probably too easy if you don't actually go for completion metrics. If you don't try to get all the stars or all the collectibles, and you're just kind of missing out, which is not, to me, is maybe not the ideal way to design it. I think it should be fun no matter what you do, but it is a way, and it's a way that I've had to kind of accept playing these Mario games, and I don't mind it. I think this game is at home on the Switch. It feels great to play on portable mode. Really just highly recommend this. I was thinking that if somebody like Setzer, say, bought a Switch and for some reason he had been like snatched by an alien and felt like he needed a 3D platformer, and it was between this and Odyssey,
Honestly,
for various circumstances, I would probably recommend this over Odyssey. It just kind of depends on what you're going for, but I think, for a lot of people, this would be the ideal Mario. It's got a lot of great multiplayer, a lot of great content, and it's all just laid out there, easy for you to access. So, really solid game. Derek, you've been kind of holding off on talking about it. I don't think you have anything to add, do you?
no, not really. Most of what I have to say is about Bowser's Fury. I would recommend this game for people that do a lot of commuting. Like
Oh, absolutely.
if you're on the subway, this is a good game for that. But otherwise, I would recommend Odyssey in every scenario over it. So I don't agree with that, but
I mean, Odyssey is a lot less fun to 100%. It's just got too much,
I
way too
suppose.
much. Speaking of too much, the other 3D platformer I've been playing is Crash Bandicoot 4, which got its enhanced edition port over well, it was my holiday week. I was on spring break from work, and so that came out on my birthday. And because I'm a sap who just goes for that kind of thing, I saw that a game came out on my birthday, and I said, "Hey, why not?" And it was on sale, so got it for what I felt like was a pretty fair price of $40. I wasn't really expecting too much from it because I hate Crash Bandicoot. I just kind of bought it because the things I had seen made me think it could be good, and lo and behold, I actually have really enjoyed this game. It's like I said, it's very different from Mario, and the difference is that I think that if you try to play this game for completion, you're probably insane. It's probably the least 100% friendly game I've ever played. And it's really funny, Setzer, if you go to timetobeat.com or whatever that site is and you look up Crash 4, and it has like the main story completion at about 10 hours, main story with some extras about 12 hours, but 100% completion, 70 hours,
What?
which is a just a and it's an unfathomable jump if you haven't played the game, but when I was playing it, I was noticing pretty early on that every stage, if you're playing Crash, the way to complete it 100% is you have to get all the boxes in each stage. And on Crash 1, 2, and 3, you're looking at like 70, 80 boxes a stage, maybe 50 or 40 for the low end, or a little bit above 100 for the high end. And Crash 4, just about every level has over 200 boxes, and they are hid in some devious places. And, they would make 100% playthrough take long in that sense. You also have the time trials. And in addition to that, this game has extra side levels that are like, you have side levels with bonus characters, then you have side levels with Crash that are like test course levels, and then you have rewind levels that let you play through each level mirrored with a different gimmick. And all of those things play into getting 100%. And so I could tell just by doing the first few levels that this game would be a nightmare to 100%. And statistically, it is a nightmare. I can't imagine playing it that way. And if you did, I think you'd hate it. But playing it the normal way, just kind of beelining, unlike Mario 3D World, it is just super fun. It's, to me, the right amount of challenge. It eschews some of the trial and error nature of the old Crash Bandicoot games, which is what frustrated me. Feels like the levels are designed a lot more coherently, a lot more fairly. It looks great, especially on new consoles. It runs, I mean, in my experience, perfectly. There's been some suggestions of stuttering on Series X and S, and I may have noticed one or two levels with a little bit, but overall it's been pretty smooth.
The frame rate
And
dared to drop by 2 frames for like 2 seconds, and it's like, oh,
right,
unplayable garbage.
I played through the level and I saw a little bit of stutter, and I thought that it definitely wasn't enough that I would say that it was a poorly optimized port. I mean, they could do some work, I guess, but overall, I don't really ever notice any drops or anything. It's a very smooth playing experience, and I just have to. I like all the additions that they've made to the Crash move set. They gave them a double jump, which is great because there's a lot of jumps you can make, and the double jump will bail you out of some of those bad jumps that you're prone to make. They added in a lot of mask abilities that just twist the gameplay in fun ways. Like there's one that flips gravity, which is hit or miss because I'm not a big fan of playing levels upside down, never have been. There's one that turns you into an endless cyclone, which is my favorite. It kind of gives you something comparable to uh, the spark jump in Metroid, where you can just jump a lot further. Or in Metroid, you jump endlessly. In this game, it just gives you a lot more float. And when you use that one, it's usually a pretty good time.
To give, I think maybe like a slightly better idea, a way to put it, it's like in the old Looney Tune cartoons when Taz would just spin around and just be a
When Taz is
maniac.
out, yeah.
Yeah. So you're pretty much just Taz.
Yes, it is. It is. It is endless Taz.
Yes.
It is endless Taz, and I enjoy that power quite a bit. Um, and yeah, I think that this studio went all out. I think they left it all on the programming table with this one, as noted by their 100% completion requirements. And it's just I think, a great way to iterate on a franchise that has been dead for a very long time, depending on who you ask, of course. And they poke fun at that too. But yeah, I've been enjoyed both of these games. They're both very different, and Setzer would probably hate them both, but I like them.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
uh, but Derek, I know you played Crash 4.
Yes.
I think you feel different. I think you felt differently.
I did. But I also tried to get most of the crates my first time through. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't stop doing that stuff till most of the way through the game because I would try to get every jewel and gem and
Whew. Yeah.
get all the fruits I could and unlock alternate attires if I was able to. And I don't know, over halfway through, I was like, this sucks. And then I stopped doing that. And then
Yeah.
I guess the experience got a little better. But like a lot of the fake difficulty from old crashes emerge once you try to get all the crates and stuff. Because you'll like,
Yes.
you'll like find a bunch of crates you have to like belly drop onto. But below the crates that you're supposed to like destroy, there's TNT or something below. So you just blow up. So it's
Oh
just
yeah. There's
bunk.
some
I
rough
hate.
ones.
So I think I did myself a disservice with that game, and it would be okay to replay it, but
Yeah.
without
I
thinking about
think
that junk.
Yeah, I think if you do that, you're just setting yourself up to be miserable. I was doing a level last night, one of the vehicle type levels, not vehicles because they don't have those from what I've played yet. It's one of those animal where you're riding the animals, and it's in an alien world with so many layers of each stage or like of each part of the level. Like there's so many different platforms to reach. It seems like it sprawls endlessly. And I was doing that stage and I realized that there are so many different places where you'd have to turn exactly right to make sure you find the crates. And I was just thinking how glad I was that immediately when I played the first level, I said, you know what? I don't think I need this. And that really set the tone for the rest of my experience, which has been delightful. It's of the 3D platformers I've played recently, this would rank pretty highly for me. I'd put it up there with some of the Marios I've played. Not Galaxy material by any means, but I mean, I think it's better than Sunshine,
Okay.
which I mostly say to needle into Derek's side,
I
but
don't
it's
agree.
true.
I don't agree with that even a little bit, but I'll let you
Yeah.
have your
Well, I
opinion.
mean, you're wrong.
No,
So
I'm not. I think Sunshine's like significantly better, but you're allowed to feel differently.
we're gonna do a podcast about Sunshine one of these days.
I guess so. So I can own you with facts and logic about the quality of
Oh,
Sunshine.
yeah,
Yeah,
the objective quality of Mario Sunshine.
yeah,
Yeah, like the pachinko level.
that's fine. You just suck at video games. Um,
Yeah, well, so's your face.
oh, got me.
Ha!
All right, so are you good on your little platformers there?
Oh man, I'm never good on my platformers, but I'm good for now.
Okay. So, Setzer, what have you been playing?
Well, I didn't have too much time for video games this week, but I did play a few indie games, and I got back into Prey 2017
Oh,
by Arcane.
Hey, I
Um,
know that game.
yeah. The real standout in the indies I played is a top-down roguelike, which is usually not my cup of tea, but it's called Beacon, and the crux of this game is the levels aren't totally random. They're always pretty similar, so you can kind of learn as you go, and you collect DNA, and every time you die, you have a opportunity to resequence your character's DNA,
oh, I
and that
see.
gives you different like stats and effects and mutations and all that good stuff. So you can really mix up your playstyle, and it's a little bit more deterministic than something like Hades. You have a little more control over, here's what I found in playthrough A, and here's how I'm gonna shape playthrough B before I start it, right? So that's really cool. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but I played, a couple hours of it and actually really enjoyed it. I was surprised.
It's nice when a game kind of defies your expectations like that.
For sure, for sure. I also really like the graphics on this game. It's in this minimal, low poly style, which isn't always my cup of tea, but I appreciate it. It goes really well with the sleek, kind of weird sci-fi designs, and the UI design is to die for in this game. It is great. It's a
What did you
little.
say
I
the
have an
name
ultra
was of
wide
this again?
beacon, but I have an ultra wide monitor, so the UI is a little bit messed up on mine on certain parts, but otherwise it looks really good. And
Wow.
I love UI in games, so
What's your favorite
quite
UI?
happy. Destiny 2.
God, okay, what's your favorite non-Destiny UI?
Probably Prey 2017.
All
Really?
right.
What is it you like
Yes.
about that UI? I think it's pretty sleek.
Well, I'm a sucker for grid-based inventory. I think that's
Ooh,
my
yeah, I do love
favorite
grid-based
kind of
inventory.
inventory.
Yeah, that was a nice
Um,
surprise.
yes, and I like that this is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I know it's very, very petty, but if you look at the UI in a game like Prey and the Fallout games I played recently, they do this too. You open your menu, right? And you
Hmm.
have one row of like category tabs along the top, and then each of those categories has a second row of tabs. It lets you scroll through both rows of tabs with the keyboard, so you don't have to like click around, right? I really like that. I think everything should be keyboard shortcut bound. And the other thing I like about Prey's UI is it gets out of your way.
It does.
Also, I
It gets
think
out of your way at the right time.
as you get later in the game, you'll collect more tools. And the quick selection wheel becomes like a spiral. So you don't have limited slots, you just spiral around. And I think that that works brilliantly. I also really love how much of the UI is diegetic in the game. How much of it is interacting with actual machines in the game.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
tablets and stuff you encounter in the world.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah, those are
recyclers and the printers,
yes, yes.
stuff like that.
That is some good stuff.
Yes.
You're not a bad choice for best UI. Definitely appreciate a good grid-based inventory. There's no doubts
Yes.
about that.
Resident Evil 4 best.
Has a good
Yeah.
grid-based inventory. It sure does.
Speaking of Prey, like I said, I've been playing that, and I love it.
Yeah, it says a replay for you.
Yes. Yep, this is a replay. I'm just really enjoying it. Trying to play. The first time I played it, I emphasized stealth a lot more. And this time I went a little more psychic powers, which I avoided my last time.
So you're mixing it up.
That's one of my favorite things about all these arcane games and the quote-unquote immersive sim genre. I really appreciate the freedom those games give you to tackle problems. It's interesting. I was thinking about, the Fallout games give you a lot of freedom to kind of explore this world, but you don't have a lot of gameplay freedom. And in arcane games, it's kind of the opposite. You have this very well-designed, beautifully designed level, right? But you have tons of tools to get to your objective and complete your objective in pretty much any way you can imagine.
I played a little bit too, and you got to watch me struggle my way through the first 2 hours. Hopefully I didn't do too poorly, though I know that there were some things that, with my tired brain, I couldn't figure out in a very timely fashion. But I definitely appreciated... I had heard this game compared to BioShock most of all, but
Yeah.
I don't know. In a narrative sense, I get it because it does have some of the same hooks, but from a gameplay standpoint, BioShock is pretty straightforward. You kind of move around and you shoot, and this really seemed a lot more open to interpretation. Even little things like, I had a checkpoint to reach an objective, and I looked around. I was like, I have no idea how to do this, and I had spec'd my character so he could lift bigger objects. And then I realized, what if I just take a bunch of bigger objects and stack them? Because your character is pretty mobile in terms of climbing things. And so I did just that. I made a big old tower, and I kind of meandered my way up it, and I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. That was nice that I used some intuitive logic to figure out a way to reach my goal, which I like when that happens. Very organic.
Yeah, you can use the glue cannon for the same purpose, by the way.
Yes, the
Make
glue
little
cannon
stairs.
is beautiful. I love
Yes.
the glue cannon.
The glue
Big
cannon
fan.
is great. Some of the powers you unlock later on, those are really great.
It's a definitely a singular kind of game. I can't think of too many games that touch all the little points that it touches. It's
Well, there's Dishonored.
unique. Well, yes, I haven't played Dishonored. I'm going to. It's
Also
it's
Deus
downloaded.
Ex.
Yeah, I was gonna say Deus Ex. I know also attempted to do the
Yeah,
multiple ways to achieve the same goal, sort of thing.
I played Deus Ex, the original, for about 10 minutes on GameTap, if you remember GameTap. And
Do I
Is
ever?
that
I was
true?
I was too young for that game at the time. I just did not appreciate or understand anything.
That
So
was your first exposure to Fallout 2 as well, Fallout 1 and 2.
it was, and I also didn't understand or appreciate that game. And I was like, I thought it was gonna be like Perfect Dark.
I think
What the hell is this?
those old Fallout games are very hard to approach if you didn't grow up with them. The gameplay style is
yeah.
not conductive to how people play games nowadays, but still classics. But
It's different. Different, not bad.
times. Yeah, different, not bad. what I've been playing this week was I finished Last of Us Part 2. My thoughts on that game are that I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I thought it was, and that is to say, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a solid time. I didn't hate it. I think this might be the most hyperbole prone game of all time, which is why I was
I
tired of
came
hearing about
prepared
it.
with questions. I
Yes,
came prepared with
I
questions.
am going to. I was going to lead into that. I just wanted to get the
Oh,
basics out of the way.
okay.
That
Is it the best game you've ever played?
no, no,
Is
it is
it
not.
is it the worst game you've ever played?
No, I think both sides are insane. This is not the best game ever. It's not
Nice.
the worst game ever. It is to be a filthy centrist. It is fine. It's fine. It did leave me thinking at times. So and it's something I'll probably remember. So it's got that. But anyway, because everyone has heard probably enough about this game that they kind of know everything at this point, I asked Cheston to have some questions for me about things he might be curious about. So I wanted to do something a little different for this. So, Cheston, what do you got for me?
Well, I already asked you my two hot bangers.
Oh, okay, thank
So
you.
I would ask. I think my biggest concern as someone who quite liked the first game was that I think the first game is often incorrectly mischaracterized as just a very dour, overly violent game. I mean, it is violent and it's dour, but I also felt that that game had a pretty fair balance where it wasn't focusing on the violence as much as it was, it was there because of course it was. I mean, that's the world that the game exists in. So of course there's going to be some amount of violence, but it seemed to me like this game really fixated on it. And it seemed like this game had no levity, which, I mean, the first one, again, very serious game. There wasn't much, but there were moments where you were like, that were more hopeful, like the giraffe scene
Yeah.
was kind of a nice little moment. And it's probably the moment that most people most fondly remember from that game. And so I was worried that this game was just all violence all the time and zero little moments to break up the somber nature of the story.
Well, there are good moments. There are like moments where you slow down and you get character development, and everything's not like super serious. We're gonna die. Do something. There's slower times. Now most of the good slower times take place in flashbacks. When they do something in current times, you are going to get that yanked away from you in a depressing way. So nothing current is good, but for the record, if you haven't played Last of Us, I'm not going to gloss over spoilers. So if you care, skip ahead a few minutes. That's all I can really say. Exactly. I know you don't care. So one of my least favorite things about this game is that Ellie, which is one of the main characters from the last game, is turned into a complete psychopath. She she was pretty likable in the last game. She was like it felt like a human. And this one, she's like obsessed with revenge to the nth degree. She gets this perfect ending. She's like on a farm with her, she's got her lesbian family. She's got a little baby, and life looks good, but she can't let go of revenge. So she abandons her perfect life to go hunt for this person that killed Joel out in California, and it makes no sense. It's like
So
just
that
forget it.
was that was another question I had, which
Yes.
was so Ellie's turn, which I knew because I've read all the spoilers. I know
Yeah.
everything about this game, having not played it at all. My wonder was they did they earn Ellie's turn into a maniacal psychopath?
No, it sucked.
No.
It's
Okay.
stupid. Like
All right.
she's like a completely different character in this game. Like I understand that you had a complicated life. Her big turn comes when she goes to Seattle and basically kills almost everybody that's responsible for killing Joel. She only leaves Abby, the person who actually did it, but she just can't let go of it. And to me, when you see her life on the farm, what happens before then is that she gets like beat within an inch of her life and by Abby, and Abby's like, "Oh, I better not ever see you again," and she like leaves her, like she lets go of her trauma or whatever, and it's like, "All right, this should be it," but it's not, and it's just stupid. It makes you like want to see her fail. It's ridiculous. And the moral, the very never talked about anywhere ever. This is only done in this game. is that lusting for vengeance leaves you with nothing. She, as a result of leaving, her wife leaves her, and she comes back to an empty house, and all she has is memories of what was. Like, oh, okay, well, thank you.
Gotcha. I felt like the worst part of that whole story, to me at least, was that from what I understand, and of course you can correct me because you've actually played it, is that at the end Ellie finally reaches Abby and she just lets go then after murdering her way through hundreds, if not thousands, of other people who have names, which I know you thought was funny.
It was.
After murdering all those people, she gets to Abby, and that's when she decides, you know what? Revenge is not worth it.
Okay, well
Is that correct?
let me tell you why this is some bullshit. So for whatever reason, the game, like when you leave Seattle, would make sense for the game to end. But instead, they decide to extend it for another 2 hours because I guess they were like, well, we have to be at least 20 hours long, otherwise people will complain. So Abby and this kid she rescued, I had been calling him Aang because he looks like Aang from Avatar, but it's Lev, yes, but he has grown his hair out, so he's no longer Aang. Very sad. But they're in California trying to find civilization, and like things are looking good. And then out of nowhere, they're captured by a bunch of slavers that aren't mentioned anywhere else in the game to this point. They're just show up. They're Necron from FF9. They just show up, um, and they basically enslave Abby and Lev. And 4 months pass, and so Ellie's out in California looking for them to complete her revenge, and she discovers them through these slavers that she mercilessly slaughters, and for the best. But she comes across them, and they're both basically crucified. They've been hanging on a pole. For reference, Abby, she's spends the game looking like Brock Lesnar. She's got these giant like arms, these cannon guns, and when you rescue her, she's clearly malnourished. Her arms are like shrunk. She hasn't eaten in months, and Ellie cuts her down. And instead of like looking at this like this is insane, she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And there's a big like Metal Gear Solid 4 boss fight between Ellie, who had been injured during her travels to reach Abby, and Abby, who like I was like, why? Like, why do you need to do this? Like, she's malnourished. She just wants to go. She wants to flee. It's stupid. And so, in this Metal Gear Solid 4 ripoff boss battle, Ellie like tries to drown Abby, and then as she's like choking to death underwater, she has a flashback of Joel playing guitar, and for whatever reason that snaps her out of it, and then she's like, "Just go," and then that's it, and then she goes away, and then Ellie goes back home to nothing, and
That's the
that's
end?
her game. That's the end. Very depressing.
God, that sucks.
Yes, like I didn't understand the whole point of the stupid slavers. Like if you were going to do this ending where what they did, I think they could have just ended it in Seattle. So they added 2 extra hours and got nothing for it.
Okay.
Um,
That
my
matches up with a lot of what I've heard.
my main what I came out of this game feeling is that they should have. Well, it was basically what I felt when they announced Last of Us 2, is that it should have had nothing to do with the original characters. They should have just like done the same world, but like try something different. Because I feel like just bringing the characters back has ruined their reputation. They you look back on that game now and it kind of sucks. And one of the things I heard about The Last of Us Part Two going into it was that it ruins Joel, um, and I actually don't agree. I think the questions this game makes you ask about Joel should have been asked by the players after they beat Last of Us Part One. Whether he did was good or not. Like, yeah, he sacrificed basically the human race for one person. You should have been asking yourself whether that was good.
To be fair, don't really know if that whole operation was kind of a gamble to begin with.
Well,
So
they tell you that there's no guarantee,
yes,
but the only way they could possibly get this to work is to kill her. This game kind of glosses over that there's no guarantee part, but it would have been better if this just focused on the new character Abby and just did their own thing. But as a result, it's kind of a mess. It does have some good moments. It makes you think a little bit about these characters, but I don't know. It's fine. It's a fine game, I guess. from a gameplay perspective, it reminds me kind of like a Silent Hill where you're not supposed to fight. You're best suited like sneaking around and like avoiding combat. The problem is there's a ton of combat and it's hard to sneak around, so you still have to fight with limited options. So it gets really grating after a while. I think this game would have been better as a 12-hour experience, but it's whatever.
And is there really any game you can't say that for, though? I feel like,
Persona
I feel like,
5.
true. Well, whatever. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played it, but yeah, it just feels that is one of the main things I've heard is that the game just doesn't know when to stop. It just has no idea.
It does the Return of the King thing where you think it's ending like 5 times. It's like, oh shit. I guess Frodo's back again. I don't know. So I would say I'm glad I experienced it,
Yeah.
just so I can have my own opinion on it. But I still think there was too much made of this game one way or the other. Um, it's
Yeah, I think that was just inevitable, especially when they had the pre-launch outing of all the story content, and then you had people who were just kind of drilling in on either side, either like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever been done ever, or oh, this is a masterpiece and subverts expectations, and if you don't like this, you're a big stupid man child. Like I
yes.
think people kind of made up their mind before they even played it.
They did. They did.
Yeah. So I'm glad you played it and could make up your mind the correct way, which is to play it and experience it.
I think people, even for really bad games, should at least try it before forming an opinion. But anyway, that's really all I got to say about Last of Us Part 2. It was the game we didn't want to hear anything else about, and I violated those terms. I apologize, but that is the last I will mention it.
And it's the last I will mention it.
And Setzer doesn't care about Last of Us, so we're good to go.
I will continue to rant about Destiny 2
All right.
every opportunity.
Oh, no, well, can't somebody stop him?
So let's get going on the news then.
Well, not much this week, but let's kick things off with a look at everyone's favorite local branch of the CCP, Activision Blizzard. IGN's Wesley LeBlanc writes that the company's CEO, Bobby Kotick, is set to receive a bonus of up to $200 million, even as the company prepares to lay off between 50 and 190 employees. Mr. Kotick's windfall is apparently a contractual reward for keeping ATVI stock above a certain threshold for 90 consecutive days, which was accomplished this year. A committee review will decide the final amount of compensation, which will be awarded in June. Now, do you really think it's Bobby's decision-making that generated that stock value, or the hard work of the employees that produced the product he sells?
I
You
mean,
know,
it's funny you say that they're the local branch of the CCP because I can't think of anything less socialistic in its actual machinations than Activision.
Well, maybe not ideologically, but
Yes, I know what you mean. I'm aware of what you mean. I just think it's a funny
in reality
contrast.
here.
Yeah, you know what? I was listening to something earlier, a different podcast, and I believe they suggested that it's been bandied about in business circles that Kodak is one of the most criminally overpaid executives in the world, let alone video games. Sure seems like he gets a lot of money.
his philosophy is beat it into the ground until you can't beat it anymore. So it's proven profitable for them, I suppose. But I mean, anyone could do that. This doesn't take a business genius to milk your properties. I would
No.
I would say this is not surprising. If Bobby Kotick had any, integrity, he would say, I'm foregoing my bonus," but he won't.
No, absolutely not.
From what I've gathered, Activision Blizzard has been doing quite well since the pandemic. So laying off people seems unnecessary. I know this is like mostly in the esports division. You could probably find other avenues of work for these people.
Yeah, you could probably fold him into the ever-growing blob that is Blizzard.
Right. And who can say whether esports will have changed forever, how people don't gather as much? Whenever, I don't know, in 2025 when things settle down, who knows?
Yeah.
But people desperately want to get back to normal. And one of those things would be these big esport events. So
So what is Blizzard Esports anymore though? Was kind of one of my questions as I read about this. Like, is it because Heroes of the Storm they killed a while
Mm-hmm.
ago, so it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just
It's
Overwatch League?
Overwatch, and
Yeah, it's
But I
Overwatch.
don't think StarCraft 2 really does anything anymore, and
No,
Diablo's
they
not
ceased
an
development
esport.
on StarCraft 2. Diablo isn't an esport, like you said. I think,
people
I
play
think
WoW.
maybe they do WoW Arena tournaments
They
still,
probably
but
do. I know the WoW arena scene is full of weird people, so
Oh,
yeah,
they still do that?
always has
Huh?
been.
yeah, I
Really?
know. Even back in the Honor days, but that's neither here
Okay.
nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree they should have folded them in somewhere else, but I can't say that I was surprised that the esports division was where they made the cuts.
You've got like these record profits. I feel like you
Oh
could.
yeah. Well, they did this last year too,
I'm
remember?
not saying anyone's
Hmm.
entitled to a job, but you owe
No.
it to them to at least try to work it out instead of
Yeah,
like,
if you're actually good people, you're going to be like, "Oh, how can we make use of these people? We're making more money than we've ever made before,
right. I'm sure
year
there's
after
something they
year."
can do.
I'm not going to be crying for Activision anytime soon, so, I can't these layoffs certainly don't seem entirely justified.
I mean, I guess 90-day severance is all right, but
Well, and
but
$200 Blizzard gift
yeah,
card.
the $200. That's what I was about to talk about. The slap in the face is a $200 Blizzard gift card. Like, I don't know about you, but like if a company lays me off, the last thing I want to do is like get their merch.
Yeah,
Their their
yeah.
their their gift card costs them nothing. Like it's
So
not like
so what I heard from folks who may or may not have actually worked for Blizzard, I don't know, is that as part of their yearly contract, they get $500 in Blizzard money, and so this was like a prorated amount. It still sucks.
that's
It still seems like
That's
a
stupid.
big slap in the
ridiculous.
face. Yeah.
That's
Oh, it is
beyond the
ridiculous.
pale. That makes it
Absolutely.
even worse.
Yeah, why even do a prorated amount? Like it's free. Like you're not losing
Oh
anything
yeah.
by giving out
No,
that
no,
money. It's
for
fake
sure. Yeah,
money.
it's ridiculous. It's fake money, and what are you gonna do with that much Blizzard money? They don't have that many games to
Buy
buy.
mounts and wow, that's that's scummy.
Yeah. It's rotten. It's totally it's a very Activision move, right? They did this to Vicarious Visions for seemingly no reason, absorbed them into Blizzard, and now they're just full out dumping these people on the streets for no reason. In the middle of a pandemic that's still going on. It is still happening, so, seems kind of crappy.
That's why I always feel kind of bad when I play an Activision game because I just don't like that company.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
play their games anymore.
no. No, they're a company that I have a hard time stomaching. It's unfortunate for me that they happen to own a few properties that I really like, but yeah, they are definitely not a nice company. They're not easy to root for.
they are worse than EA.
Well, yeah, he is just incompetent.
Yes, they are. They are bumbling.
Activision is, competent to an extent, and they're also evil on top of it.
Oh
So
yeah.
doesn't help.
All
But
right.
I don't think it'll slow down anytime soon because Call of Duty sure doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Nope. Thanks Warzone. Thanks
Yeah,
children.
we'll need something hot like 6 Days of Fallujah to knock it out.
Oh hell yeah.
The COD killer.
That's the ticket. Yeah, that's the COD killer right there.
Well, in lighter news, PC gamers Andy Chalk writes that Rockstar Games deployed a patch to reduce GTA Online load times by up to 70% this week, based on the reverse engineering efforts of one Toaster CX, who was awarded $10,000 through Rockstar's bug bounty program for his trouble. Have you played any games recently that made you wish for a technical miracle?
Yeah, Bloodborne. There's a patch, a fan made patch that lets hacked PS4 pros do 60 frames per second or close to it in Bloodborne.
Nice.
And like, why don't you pay that guy and put it on PS5 where I could hold it the whole time? You know what I mean? I was gonna rant on this when I saw it because like, well, he fixed the game. Why don't you pay this guy? And then it's like, oh, $10,000. Like that seems pretty nice. It's pretty fair.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
did your work for you. So there you go. So I think this is the way to handle this sort of thing because I feel like Bethesda has has done similar things in the past and they just haven't acknowledged or paid
Maybe
people.
they'd be
So
bleeding money though. They'd have so many bugs to fix and so many people to pay.
right. So I think this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention Bethesda because when I read this story, I played 76 recently and I was just thinking like, please God, send a team of people, send a crack team of mercenaries to polish this game, because it needs it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. The community probably cares more than the people working on it.
Yeah,
A
at this
good
point.
example of this might be something like the Madden games, which I know nobody here cares about, but I used to play quite a bit. And year after year, you have these YouTube videos of these bugs that have been going on for years, and people pointing and laughing at them. It just seems like it'd be real easy to be like, a lot of people know that this game has bugs. They might be interested in making this simulation better if we did something about it. That's I don't know, seems like a good candidate to me.
Well, people that play Madden don't know how to use computers, so
Oh,
they're not going to get those
well,
kind of fixes.
but bounty programs are very beloved in football.
Oh, that's true.
They'd fit right in.
They would.
The other game I mentioned and I kind of jumped in too early was Fallen Order, because that game felt like it was put together with rubber bands and glue. So I'd love for someone to come in there and just smooth over some of those edges and make it not run like total garbage.
Should play it on your Series S. I think you will be pleasantly
Apparently, that might be
surprised.
better, but I know that that's the only game I can remember where me moving at a reasonable speed, like I was getting way ahead of the game's loading, and it was like, "Oh, slow down, hold on, let me catch my breath. You're going too fast."
I think that was a technology like they were trying to force too much on the old consoles thing.
Yes,
Because when my Series X playthrough, that game was pretty solid. I,
never buy games at launch.
I suppose
Don't
not.
do it. Yeah,
Says me, the king of buying games at launch.
hey, it's never too late to change.
We also have a story from Jay Peters of The Verge writing that Sony is now co-owner of Evo. Derek, you're the fighting game expert around here. What do you think?
Yes, I. This is mostly a speculation sort of item that I wanted to think about because what benefit does Sony get from getting this? You know what I mean? It makes me
Goodwill.
okay, but they don't care about that.
Yeah,
It makes me think like they're either going to like invest heavily in Street Fighter going forward to make like Street Fighter 6 exclusive again, like 5 is, or like make say go back to the old well, make PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale 2.
Oh boy,
I know, but
it's
I
Biggie's
just
time to
yes,
shine.
yeah,
yes,
I know.
yes.
Get Neutral Coal finally can be playable.
It's our time, boys.
For me, this like you only make this kind of investment is if you're I don't know going to be pushing fighting games going forward in some way. But Sony was already kind of a sponsor of Evo, I believe, anyway, because going back at tournaments, they could only play like Street Fighter on PS3s back in the day, and obviously Street Fighter 5 is only on PS4 and PC. So I think they're just gonna double down on this stuff. They're like, this is our esport. We can dominate. We can't. People don't play MOBAs and shit on consoles, so we can be the console esport fighting stuff. So I think that's their aim here.
Uh,
I can see it.
I'm actually kind of serious when I say goodwill. I think Sony looks at, because Microsoft is in second place, so of course they're going to do a lot of things that are to make people happy, because they want people to come over to their side. And I'm sure Sony looks at that and says, we got to throw a bone every once in a while. Otherwise, we start to look kind of like we're stodgy and mean. And I think this is kind of a goodwill, like, people like Evo, whether or not a bunch of creeps ran it in the past. Like people like it, and fighting game community obviously will now have an even stronger connection to PlayStation than they already had because it was already, Sony's home turf.
Well,
So I do think there's some goodwill there.
here's where I kind of question your stance a little bit. Is that the fighting game community in general really does not like corporate shit at all.
Obviously,
They are the exact opposite of like the MOBA esport players. They do not like this organization stuff. So the best way for Sony to be goodwill is to buy it and run it and say we're hands off, we're doing nothing. But they
well
won't
they've
do that. so
they've
so
hired another company to run it,
okay, I
like a
understand,
third
but
party.
but they have to be completely hands off for this to be goodwill. They cannot do anything because the I feel like, and I agree with the fighting people. The more corporate Evo gets, the lamer it would be. You want to keep it kind of like raw, you know.
So, my only concern with this story, and really my only investment is, does this mean the end of Smash Brothers at Evo?
No, they even
No?
Nintendo even released something that said they plan on working with Evo and other such tournaments. So
Okay, good.
and
Now,
Sony themselves said that they plan to keep Evo like an open to all consoles sort of thing.
okay, because that's the only thing I watch at Evo.
Well, that last I
So,
don't know, but that's what they
yeah,
said.
maybe not. But okay, good. I'm glad that they're at least not going to make it, you know, I mean, because the Killer Instinct would go away. I think that has at least
I'm
a
pretty sure that's
marginal
already
presence
gone.
still. Well, I think it has, not like as a main stage thing, but I'm sure, it is one of the many side operations.
Oh sure.
So,
Well, yeah, they're not going to throw out like the Sailor Moon Fighter people play in the hotel rooms like
those
that's
people should be
they,
thrown out,
they don't
for the record.
they show that is weird, but
Those people should be thrown on the streets. They don't deserve Evo.
yeah, whenever again in 2025 when things get back to normal, I would love to go down the Evo and just be part of that for a day.
We will go to Evo. I committed to that.
I want to take part in like the back room Yu Yu Hakusho Genesis tournaments that happen there, or like they have like competitive Catherine going on. I just want to see.
I want to find someone rolling a custom Robo tournament.
Well, you know it.
Find my people.
You could find your degenerates there. I want to go to the underbelly and see it all.
We're playing a GameCube in here.
got Cubivore,
I got
$600
Gotcha
on
Force.
eBay.
Gotcha Force right around the corner. That's the good stuff.
I loved Cubivore as a kid.
You did?
Yeah, I wish
I
I
wish
kept my copy.
Oh, I bet you do. That's like a
You say
month's
Gotcha
rent.
Force or Cubivore?
Cubivore.
Cubivore.
Oh yeah. Oh, any GameCube game is like $100 on eBay. So, yeah. When I think about the GameCube collection I used to have before I sold it, I weep.
Mhm.
I could make so much money now if I kept it. Oh,
Well, it's kind of like N64 where secondhand people overvalue them. Because I'm telling you, Mario Sunshine is not rare enough to warrant charging $40 for it in 2021. But
we're good enough.
shut up. Uh,
Should
shoot. All right.
How you know
So
I'm right?
Evo is expected to come back in 2021.
It's summer. It's a summer event, so you'd think that they'd have some vaccine requirements around it.
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
you're pushing back to 2020 Tokyo Olympics to 2021, you got to have 2020 Evo to go alongside of it. Companion events.
That's right. My favorite Olympic sport.
Well, speaking of things that won't be returning in 2021, per a post on the game's official Twitter, Gotham Knights has been delayed to 2022.
Unsurprising.
As the pandemic continues, more and more 2021 releases are being pushed into 2022 to compensate for the time lost last year. Are there any games to which you were looking forward that have been delayed?
First, I literally never thought this was going to hit 2021.
I didn't even know it was supposed to come out in this year. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I would have never thought either. Yeah. It seemed so speculative when it was announced.
Truthfully, I think I don't know if we've discussed this on the podcast before, but I think we'd be better off pretending Bebop. Rocksteady.
Oh,
You
man.
nerd. Jesus.
I think we'd be better off
Lame.
I believe we'd be better off pretending Rocksteady was like gone. I think them coming back is just gonna damage their legacy. Like, you know what I mean?
They were a one-trick pony,
Yeah.
and their
so.
trick got found out pretty quick. So, yeah, I'm with you.
But as far as things that have been delayed, I don't know.
God, I don't know at all either.
I think what I was reading through a Game Informer, and they're awfully optimistic because they list like Dragon Age 5 or 4, I think, as coming out this in 2021. I'm like, no way, no way.
I think
Yeah, no
more so
way.
than delays, for me at least, because of my tastes, are a lot of games that I've been looking forward to for years that have just vanished. That's more of the thing I have, like the Hollow Knight sequel has just not been talked about even once since it was announced.
The Cuphead
Talk about
DLC.
once. The Cuphead DLC has been missing in action for so long that I'm convinced it's going to be its own game when it comes out.
Yeah, it's about like how Cuphead was, where it just disappeared for a while.
Yeah,
so.
and then there's this little indie Zelda-like for the Xbox called Tunic, which just disappeared into smoke, and I'm hoping there's an Xbox event coming up that's like 90 indie games, and I'm just crossing my fingers that that's finally going to show up.
Hasn't that been incognito for like 5 years now?
I look at about once every 3 months. I think, man, whatever happened to that Tunic game? And then I go look it up, and I'll see the Twitter, and the Twitter's active. And I found an interview where the guy talks about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been making progress. I kind of went under the radar, and it's about ready to show off." And he's made it sound like it could be this year, but it's just I haven't heard a peep other than that interview that I stumbled onto the other day. That's kind of more where I'm at. Is big budget AAA stuff that gets announced and delayed is not really the thing. So it's all these weird little indies that are floating around.
Well, Prince of Persia got delayed indefinitely.
Oh yeah, that was delayed. Well, I think that will come out this year, so I'm not
see.
too worried about that. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I can't say I'm looking forward to it because the last time we saw it, it looked like butt. So, if it comes back looking better, I'll be excited. But, not right now.
There's stuff that maybe hasn't been publicly pushed back, but definitely has been. Like Breath of the Wild 2, I think was probably ideally a 2021 game, but I think it coming out this year seems unlikely. The Dying Light 2 people came out the other day and said it's coming out.
Yeah.
They said it's coming out in 2021.
Well, they're liars.
And I'm like, there is no chance this comes out in 2021.
That's the same company that they kind of pulled out some weird stunts. Was it Dead Island? Was that their other game?
Techland.
And and this game has been this has got some Molyneux type promotion to it, so there's no way this comes out.
Well, I looked it up yesterday, and it's in a Eurogamer article from 4 days ago says they intend to release this year, and all I could think of is like, no way. There's just no chance. The only game I'm 100% sure is coming out this year is Halo Infinite. I think there is no way that gets delayed again.
I am 100% positive that the Mass Effect remaster trilogy will actually come out in 2 months.
Yes.
True.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. You're right about that. And Pokemon
but there's
Snap,
not,
whatever.
The Nintendo games usually, they don't announce until they're pretty sure most of the time now, so probably most of those are safe, like Diamond and Pearl, and that's not going to get delayed. I don't know. I feel like these next-gen consoles, other than Halo Infinite, which, fingers crossed, won't be delayed, I can't really.
I would
really
almost
feel like there's
guarantee
anything. You think it'll be delayed?
No, I can almost guarantee it won't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't feel like these new consoles have a lot of meat this year, other than I think Ratchet is for sure in July or something, and then Halo. But things like Horizon, I don't really feel very confident in.
Horizon's old gen too, so you never know.
True, that's true. It's I don't know. It's kind of a typical first year of a new console. You have a lot of things being delayed, and then a lot of I feel like the big games this year are going to be weird, stupid little things that people forget about, or in 5 years they realize weren't that good. Like you have things like that. Like Outriders. Outriders coming out in a few weeks. Like that game would never get any traction in a year that was actually good. But, this year it's probably going to be dominating the conversation for a week before people hate it.
Maybe something that might have slipped under the radar like Deathloop will get more attention now.
I hope so.
That's awfully optimistic of you.
Well, I don't see why it wouldn't.
I don't know.
There's nothing to play.
Arcane has a problem with marketing.
They do.
Or perhaps Bethesda has a problem marketing Arcane.
But, I mean, to me, this looks like an easy game to market. It looks like Grindhouse meets video games. So
yeah, well, that's... I think the problem with Arcane games is, something like Dishonored, you can look at it and you can see, I'm going to be... It's like Assassin's Creed plus Call of Duty or something, right?
Like Assassin's Creed, but aesthetically interesting, yes.
Yeah, but, when you play it and it asks you to, cautiously sneak around. And I think a lot of players, for whatever reason, a lot of players really hated the chaos system in that game, where if you are just like a full-on psycho murderer, more enemies will spawn in future levels, and you get a bad ending. I think a lot of players hated that inexplicably. You know, I mentioned the other day to you guys that I try to avoid internet discourse and comment sections, and this is one of the reasons why. Is every time I see comments on Deathloop, it's like, oh boy, it's just like Dishonored, but I don't get punished for murdering people.
I hate people like that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
ruined Dead Rising. They ruined it.
I don't think I've ever talked about Hollow Knight I mean, we had that best game ever discussion that one time, and it
Mhm.
was on my list. I'm kind of like you. That whenever a discussion that game comes up, I have to like really consider like I'm gonna have to stop. Like a lot of times it'll be a podcast or something, and I'll have to really consider stopping listening because the big thing in that game is that the map doesn't just it doesn't just give you the map like Metroid. The
Mhm.
map is one, it's hidden behind a button press, and two, you have to reach a save point, like a bench. Bench is like the Dark Souls-esque bonfire type thing. You have to reach a bench before your character will actually like draw on his map and add where you've been. So it adds this extra tension, and every time you see the game discussed, it's like, oh man, I hope Silksong gets rid of that crappy map system. And I'm just sitting there like that map, like that is what gives that game its tension. It's what makes exploring feel so worthwhile. Like you people are fools. You don't know.
Yep.
Or Breath of the Wild with weapon durability is the other one that gets me. Is people hate the weapons that break in Breath of the Wild, but like the whole fun of that game is having to force yourself to find different combinations of weapons and improvise. And like if you take that out, I just don't think I like Breath of the Wild that much.
Well,
It's
that's
so
that's why you
crazy to me.
guys need to play Dead Rising 1 and 2, and then read fan feedback, and then play Dead Rising 3 and tell me how you feel. Because
You should really not listen to the people who like your thing very, like you should listen very cautiously, I would say. They're they're not paid to do this.
they listen to people, said, all right, we'll take the timer mechanic out, and now it is fucking garbage. It is just soulless junk.
Yeah.
So,
Uncharted was one of the worst offenders with that because the first game had this boss fight that everyone hated. It was like kind of quick timey, and I get why people didn't like it. But to me, that game was supposed to be like Indiana Jones-esque, so the idea of having a long, drawn-out gunfight with a human character just seems stupid. Like
yep,
it would,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wouldn't make sense with the world. But then the second game, because people complained, they actually added in a boss fight, and
it
I would say
sucks.
it's one of the worst boss fights in any game I've ever played.
It's
It's
bad,
so
and
not fun.
it's a shame because that game's like a masterpiece until that boss battle.
Yeah,
But
until that boss fight, and then you're like, God, why did they listen to people?
oh, so sometimes you should just stick to your vision. Don't let other people
Yeah.
tell you how to do your job.
You should listen to your fans sometimes, but you should consider there are certain things you should listen to them about, and there are certain things you shouldn't. And that's up to you to figure out what it is. That's not my job. I'm just saying.
But don't try to make yourself more accessible for a broader audience. It never ends well. Never, ever, ever.
Well, speaking of listening to your fans, we've got one from the Delusion Department this week.
Woohoo!
Noriyoshi Fujimoto, the producer of Balan Wonderworld, wrote an article about the upcoming platform on Square Enix's official blog in which he had this to say. There's been a wide range of opinions and responses to the demo, and unfortunately, at the current stage of development, it simply isn't feasible to reflect every piece of feedback into the game. However, to offer you all a more balanced gameplay experience, we will be implementing a day one patch for the full game.
Yay.
Will Balan Wonderworld be the first game in history to be saved by its day one patch?
You know what?
No.
You're going to hate my opinion on this, but no, it's not. There's too much wrong with it. I think by now we have all played the game,
Yeah, I played the
Yes.
demo.
and I can safely say that it's bad. Uh, in like a what were they thinking sort of way. The movement's really slow. The world is just kind of unpleasant to look at. The music is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Even when they like make you think they're gonna do something interesting with the gameplay, it ends up not being that at all. Like for me, you come across Balin. I guess this is his actual name. He's like you're like, oh, you get to play as me for a second, and then it's like, oh, maybe it'll be like this cool like maybe it's like a Nights in the Dreams throwback where you're just doing loop de loops and
Mm-mm-mm.
stuff. Nope, you just press A to line it up when your silhouette goes over something else, and you jam on the A button when there's a bunch of little balons on screen, and that's it. Like that isn't fun.
Everything about that game is not fun.
They saw how Mario Odyssey plays, and they're like, let's do something like that, where you have a bunch of different gameplay styles, but let's like make it bad. Let's do that
Make
as
it modal,
yeah. Let's do it
one at a time.
right. Not only like that, but you can lose your power ups, and I feel like in this sort of game, it like would work better if you just had constant access to them all. But
you do have three at a time.
you do, but you get hit.
Yeah, but you have to. Yeah, you lose them when you get hit, and you have to like stand still for 2 seconds if you
Oh,
want to
and they
switch.
load so slow.
Yes, and then you have to like go slowly walk to wherever you found it.
You mean
like
shuffle? You
yes.
you shuffle
Yeah,
over
like
where you
Dexter's
got it.
Lab shuffle.
Yes, and it is like so like I get the levels are kind of small, so you can't like go supersonic fast, but you gotta go a little quicker than what they have. It's like
Yeah, this guy has
painfully
no
slow.
he has no hustle in his bustle. He's like,
Right.
this is the kind of person you get stuck behind in pre-COVID times in the city, and you're like, dude, buddy, we got places to be. Like, hurry up.
So unless the day one patch changes like everything about this game, pretty much everything anyway, it's not gonna do anything.
Well, you say pretty much. I mean, what is like, because to me, there was not one part of this game, not one thing that I thought was good, or even
Yeah.
close to good.
Yeah.
I thought every little element of this game was bad. So what did you think was not awful?
I don't think I have anything actually.
Yeah, so there we go. So that's fixed everything.
Like I said before we started recording, this takes me back to a simpler day, so I don't like totally hate it. Like it reminds me of like really shitty licensed GameCube games.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
mean,
go to
I feel you.
like you get like some little kid, you're like, oh, there's the Ed, Ed and Eddie game. Well, let's just rent it.
But
And it's
listen,
like,
listen. Some of those bad license games are better than this. So
well,
that's
yeah.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
bad. Like the Shrek 2 video game is better than this.
Well, yes, but and also like part of the charm of a licensed game is you're playing as those licensed characters that you have some sort of fondness for. No one's gonna like this freak Balan at all or his weird humans. So you lose that right away. Like yeah, this feels like when I was messing around with it, it feels like a $20 game.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, and it's 60, isn't it?
Yes, it is full priced.
Holy crap. Oh God. This should be, forget Outriders. This should be the game that Square is desperately dumping on the Game Pass,
I
right?
really wish this was released on Game
Like-
Pass or like
Because, I mean, I feel like you're probably going to make way more off of Game Pass than you're like, who's going to buy this full price?
no. I if this was like $15, I would probably buy it just to see where it goes because I am fascinated, like
Yeah.
what the depths this game will go to. Like
Yeah,
I want to. I don't want to watch someone play it. I want to see for myself.
As we established on a thing we recorded recently, you have a much stronger stomach than I do for this kind of thing. I don't think I could play any more of this game at all.
Well, because like I want to see like how bad the power ups can get because none of them are fun. They're all bad.
Mhm.
You figure you could like luck into like one that's kind of enjoyable to mess around with,
Yeah.
but they're not. Like even like one of the first ones you get like is this Crash Bandicoot wannabe one where you jump and you spin. Like even that, something as simple as that is not fun. It's
Yeah, speaking of Crash Bandicoot, it's been a long time since I played Crash, but you can jump and you can spin in that game.
yes,
In
Yes.
Ballin', it's like you jump and spin at the same time.
Yes.
And there's no, you have one button to press, and that button only ever does one thing.
Right.
You only get one costume at a time. Like if they had combined, because they were talking about there's like 80 costumes in this game or something. What if they just combined, it's like, okay, we have 20 costumes. I think people would have been impressed with that. And then, each costume has 4 powers. You don't even have to, that's one for each button, right? You don't
Yes.
even have to come up with anything new. You just cut the number of costumes in 4 and combine them all. Just mix them up.
or
There
at
you
the
go.
very least, let
Yeah.
you jump as each costume.
Oh, yeah, you can't jump as the dragon.
Right, because so I'm like, So you're walking around as a dragon, and basically any obstacle you have to switch out of your costume to get over,
Hmm.
which is stupid. And so let's say you have to get on top of a block to shoot your fire at a different block. So you have to jump there, spend 3 seconds changing costumes, and odds are dragon isn't the first one, so you have to do it twice. Get to that, and then hold your B button, fire, and then switch out of the costume because the dragon can't jump. That is bad game design.
Or
Yeah.
imagine if, you had to, like, combo your costumes. You could switch between them instantly. Like, each one was, just one button press, and you just quickly switch, and you combine the powers that way. You know?
Yeah,
That would be a little more exciting.
make it like a Kirby 64.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but instead, it's just this mess. It's
The fact that you are positively referencing Kirby 64 just
I love Kirby
exacerbates.
64. You shut your mouth.
Setzer likes it, but me and Cheston
Really?
are known Kirby 64 haters.
Yeah.
That game has
well,
like
I just
the
like that
world's
you can
worst
combine
level
the
design.
powers.
Oh, the combining powers is great. Don't get me wrong. That's easily like that game. If that game didn't have that, it would be a total lost cause. But everything else around that ability is lackluster.
I also like the music. I like the
yeah.
Okay, the
graphics.
music's fine.
Well,
It's Kirby.
it's hard to. I mean, with Kirby, it's
Yeah.
It's
music's
good.
fun.
It's got good Kirby music. I'll give. Okay, it's got that, but the visuals. Oh man, that game to me is like. Ugh.
I don't mind. It's Nintendo 64.
I know the 64 doesn't look great, but I'm gonna say it can do better than that.
It just looks boilerplate to me, like very.
Well,
by
the
the-
levels don't like to me. Like Kirby has a certain vibe to it, and those levels lack that vibe. It feels like you could plop that into like Mischief Makers, and it wouldn't feel out of place.
Shake, shake.
Well, that's a good game.
Mischief Makers, a better game.
So yeah, to answer your question, no, this game will not be fixed by day one patch. It won't be fixed by any patch.
No,
They would just need to rethink the entire game.
Okay, okay. Do
They
you
need
think
to
this game will get a
rethink Yuji
second
Naka.
patch?
Do I think this game will get a second patch? No, I don't. I don't. There won't be enough people playing it to like. It'll be like Sonic 2006, where like they may do like one patch, and then it's like, well,
it'll be
no
like
one's-
Anthem. There'll be a Balan next
Yeah.
project, and then in a year we'll be reading stories about like,
how it
all right,
redeems
they're
itself.
gonna meet today to decide whether or not it's worth it to fix Balan Wonderland, and then they're gonna get in the boardroom, and there's gonna be like guys like, the fuck are we talking about? This game sucks.
It's crazy that like, even if you think Yuji Naka is a hack, he's been in the industry for a billion
Think?
years. Well, yes, but
Yeah.
but like he's been in the industry forever. This feels like a game made by someone that's never played a game before.
This feels like one
Yeah.
man's like solo Unity dev passion project.
Yeah, this is Wasoian.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm so fascinated. That's why I wish it was like $15. I really do
Hey,
want to
man,
see where it goes.
I would give at least an above 75% chance that this game ends up on Game Pass at some time in this calendar year.
Well, if it does, look forward to my full report because like I really want to
Because
see where it goes.
This game would succeed on Game Pass because you'd have a lot of people who'd be like, "Oh man, I heard this is really bad,"
Well, I don't know.
and they check it out for an hour.
I feel like for games that are like super bad, people just resort to streamers, which I do not endorse as a way to
I
experience.
don't know if it's on Game Pass. They resort to that because they don't want to pay full price. But if it's
True.
just included on your little service,
That's
you
true.
know,
I never
suddenly
would have played
it's-
Piku Niku if it wasn't on the Game Pass.
Yeah, but that's a good game.
Yeah, it was fun.
But I stand by my initial analysis of Balan Wonderworld as Yuji Kaka.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I could bring you all together to play this crappy 3D platformer in
Yeah.
the midst of
Shared
what I have
experience.
considered a nice 3D platforming renaissance. It's been nice to be reminded of why this genre exists in the ground.
Yep. Renaissance
Nice
is over.
reminder. Yep.
Renaissance is
Oh well, it was fun while it lasted.
And finally, a single obituary this week. The presumably highly anticipated Super Seducer 3 has
Yeah.
been banned from Steam per the developer's Twitter account. Pour one out, boys. We'll never
I'm
learn how to
pouring.
Super Seduce 3.
I
I
was
have no idea
ready.
what this is.
It's like a
It's like an FMV game where it's like a visual novel FMV game. You choose
Like
what
Plumbers
to say
Don't Wear
to
Ties?
ladies.
kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
It plays a little clip of a guy talking to a lady and you choose what he's gonna say, and then it plays the next clip, and the reward is
Oh.
if you choose the right buttons, you get like a nudie clip or something.
Well, yeah, it's like
So
a pickup
Leisure
artist
Suit
game.
Larry.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry on the Sega CD.
But like the guy that's talking has got like this really cheesy European accent. He
Yeah, yeah.
sounds ridiculous when you hear him talk. I mean, it's kind of like, again, it's like a pickup artist game. It's
Hmm.
weird. Um, I'm going to say that I don't think this should be banned. I think you should be allowed to sell this kind of junk on Steam, even if it's kind of
Yeah, what is the
steezy.
criteria under which it's being banned? Is there like a
They don't
no
let they
adult
don't allow
games?
they don't want real humans to be nude.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
guess,
That seems silly to
but
me. Like
but to
that's
me,
uh,
like there are so many like hentai games on Steam that
yeah.
I don't
Well,
see.
hentai is one thing,
But if
porn
you got
is another.
consenting adults, it's not like it's like straight up like fucking. You know what I mean? It's like,
Still, I'd
yeah,
be
it's,
wary about crossing into like porn regulation.
I would be
You
too,
know what I
but
mean?
Yeah, I can understand why from a business standpoint they'd go away from it.
but
I mean, I don't know.
if you read the thing, they were also like, we'd be willing to edit this game down to get on Steam. Like they wouldn't even give us a chance. So I really am not a fan of games being kicked off platforms for such things. Like I can understand if this was a full porn game, but I don't think it is. That said, like you could just release on itch.io or something. Like there's no one saying you have to have a Steam
Can
release.
you imagine this on itch.io?
Oh, it'd be
Holy
run off
shit.
by the insane people that frequent it. But you could try, or like GOG or something where you don't have to do
It
Steam.
I don't to me, I mean, I don't know the
Put
content of
this
this
on
game,
Epic
so
Games Store, bros.
whenever I hear this stuff, it reminds me of the way that Apple polices their App Store and the way they treat games, especially. I mean, because they have legit porn apps, I'm sure, or at least they have adult-centric apps on the App Store. But when it comes to games, like even something like Papers, Please, which just had very mild nudity, which was meant to make a point about what that game was about, it just always makes me feel like this is games being treated like toys, like they were way back yonder, and it seems weird to me that they just can't escape it, given that so many people play games now. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're talking about the artistic merit of press button, look at tits. Like
I'm
like some kind
aware
of
that this is
Pavlovian game. Papers, Please is one thing. This is like one of the most lowbrow excuses I've seen in a while.
I have to look at it. That's why I'm like hesitant to say much about it because I don't know the nature of this game. But it is weird to me that games always still get like you know they still get treated differently than the other mediums. Is just never seems to never go away.
Hey, if the
I don't
guy
know.
game
I
can
think
exist,
that nudity in general is still very taboo across media.
well, it
Even if
is.
it's even if it's allowed to be shown, in a lot of
Hmm.
cases, it's still you're like, oh, you're a weirdo. Well, maybe if he would called it like Super Psychopath 3 and you got to like kill people in it instead
Oh,
of
for
look at their
sure.
bodies, maybe then it would be.
Right. That's always where I go back to is like, yeah, I can do any of the things I do in most games, but I can't, you know, if I was playing Mortal Kombat and I did a fatality on Sonya and she was naked, then it would be a problem.
I agree with you that there's really not much artistic and really merit to this game, but I still don't want to see things. I'd rather them just get out there and fail or succeed. But
I would say I would put this in a different barrel than I would put something like Dead or Alive Extreme 3,
well,
which
that's
I
a
know
game.
was it is a game and it was censored on, like PSN and the US. And I look at that and go,
Let people have their
why
boobs.
why why is it censored? I don't understand, but whatever. I know that puts me in a very unpopular argument, but I just can't. I don't know. There's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of that kind of stuff
I
in
want people
movies
to
and
be able
TV.
to. I want people to be able to choose what's suitable for themselves.
Yeah,
I don't want some publisher saying whether this game is too hot for me.
you can't make the argument for the kids because I mean, there's plenty of stuff on those stores the kids shouldn't get access to either. So I don't
Absolutely.
know. I usually fall on the
Like
side of
Balan Wonderland.
yeah. God, can you imagine how messed up a kid would be if they played that game?
It would, well, it would get you off video games. So there's always a
That's right.
perk.
It might actually save you.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I don't like video games anymore. Thank you, Junaka.
Anyway, I think that'll do it for us this week. You can reach us on email at alltodaypodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at alltodaypod. This is Derek.
I'm Setzer.
And Cheston.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Adios.
See you later.